Picture a Roman legionary sitting down to eat after a long day on the march. What's on the plate? Most people imagine meat, a hard soldier tearing into roasted flesh by the fire. That picture is almost entirely wrong. The man who conquered the known world didn't run on meat. He ran on porridge, boiled wheat, a splash of sour wine vinegar, a little oil. Day after day after day. And here's the strange part. On the rare day someone handed him a chunk of meat instead of his grain, he often didn't celebrate. He worried, because it usually meant something in the system had gone wrong. Because feeding this army was not a footnote to Roman warfare. It was the hardest problem Rome ever solved, and just another gear in the same machine that built a fortress every single night. So forget the meat. Let me show you what actually fueled the empire, and why an army marched on its stomach long before anyone put it into words. Start with the one ingredient that mattered more than everything else combined: grain. Wheat above all. A legionary's daily ration was roughly a kilogram of grain. Not bread, grain. Whole, unmilled wheat, handed over by the sackful. Why unmilled? Because flour spoils fast and whole grain keeps. So the Roman supply system pushed the work of turning grain into food all the way down to the individual man. You got the raw material, the rest was your problem. And he turned it into two things. Most often, pulse, a thick wheat porridge, sometimes made from emmer, boiled with water, salt, and a little fat. Bland, heavy, filling, the taste of duty. When there was time and an oven, he made bread. Panis militaris, the military loaf. And for the march, bucellatum, a biscuit baked twice until bone dry, hard enough to last for weeks. Roman hardtack. Grain was so central, it made up something like 3/4 of everything a soldier ate. And the Romans didn't see that as deprivation. To them, grain simply was food. Everything else was a garnish. And the cost of that grain was quietly deducted from his pay. He didn't get fed for free. He bought his own ration, like it or not. Hold that thought, because what the army did and didn't make him pay for tells you how it really saw a soldier's stomach. So a legionary is handed a sack of whole wheat. Now what? You can't eat raw wheat, somebody has to grind it. And the army's answer to who is the key to the entire system. Nobody. There was no central kitchen, no mess hall, not in a marching camp, not even in a permanent fort. Instead, for eating, the army broke down into the contubernium, 8 men who shared a tent, shared a mule, and shared their meals. 8 men, 1 cooking unit, the smallest gear in the machine. And each little group carried its own hand mill, a quern. 2 heavy stone discs you turned by hand to grind grain into flour. This, not the sword, was one of the most used tools a legionary owned. Think about what that means. Every evening, after marching 20 miles and building a fortress, remember the camp from last time, the work still wasn't done. Now you ground tomorrow's grain, by hand, by the kilo, in the dark. And the archaeology fits exactly. At the forts on Hadrian's Wall, we find bread ovens built into the ramparts, and stamps pressed into the loaves, marking which century baked them. Each group feeding itself. Every 8-man tent even carried a folding frying pan. The Roman war machine, at its smallest scale, was 8 tired men around a fire, grinding wheat. It sounds primitive. It was the opposite. Pushing the cooking down to 8-man units meant the army never relied on one giant kitchen that could fail. Every squad fed itself. That isn't crude, it's robust engineering, and it's exactly how you keep 100,000 men fed across a continent. So, grain is the engine, but a man can't march, dig, and fight on porridge alone. What else was in the pack? Fat, first, because fat is calories, and a legionary burned thousands a day. Olive oil, shipped across the empire in huge clay amphorae. And lardum, cured pork fat. Bacon, which traveled far better than fragile jars of oil. Then cheese, hard, portable protein. Legumes, lentils, beans, chickpeas, cheap, filling, and they kept for months. And vegetables and fruit, whenever the land or the local market offered them. And over almost all of it went the one flavor Romans couldn't live without: garum. Fermented fish sauce, salty, pungent, intense. The condiment of the ancient world, splashed on everything, even at the empire's frozen edge. To drink? Not wine, not for the ordinary soldier. He drank pasca, water cut with sour wine vinegar. Cheap, long-lasting, and acidic enough to make doubtful water safer to swallow. Pasca is so humble it turns up somewhere unexpected. Most historians think the drink offered to Jesus on the cross was exactly this, a soldier's pasca. Neat wine, by the way? Most Romans thought drinking it undiluted was something only barbarians did. And in the cold north, Britain, Germania, soldiers drank the local beer, cerveza. We know because one of the most human documents in the entire Roman world is a note from Hadrian's Wall that, stripped of its politeness, says, "The lads are out of beer, please send more." That note comes from Vindolanda, a fort on the northern frontier, where waterlogged ground preserved hundreds of thin wooden letters. They're the closest we'll ever come to reading a Roman soldier's shopping list. And one of those lists survives almost whole. Bruised beans, 20 chickens, 100 apples, a couple hundred eggs, fish sauce, olives. Not a historian's guess at legionary life, the actual order. Which brings us back to meat. I said they ran on porridge, not flesh, and that's true of the base. But it doesn't mean they never touched it. The bones in the ground give them away. Pork, beef, mutton, and at the forts, venison, oysters, chicken, even wild boar. They hunted, they traded, and the officers, especially, ate very well. So the truth is better than either myth. Not meat-gorging savages, not porridge monks. A grain machine at the core, with meat and everything else layered on top, when supply, rank, and luck allowed. Here's where food stops being dinner and becomes a tool of control. Because in the Roman army, what you ate told everyone exactly where you stood. Wheat was the soldier's right. Barley was the soldier's shame. Barley was fodder, fit for animals and barbarians, beneath a real Roman. So when a unit disgraced itself, one punishment was to switch its ration from wheat to barley. Nobody starved, that was the point. You still ate. You just ate like a lesser man, in front of everyone, until you'd earned your wheat back. And in the worst case, decimation, where a shamed unit drew lots and beat one man in 10 to death, the survivors got 2 punishments. Barley instead of wheat, and they were made to pitch their tents outside the rampart. Hear that the way a legionary would. Outside the wall we built every single night. Outside the machine. Stripped of the wheat that marked you as one of us. Food and fortress were the same message. You are in, or you are out. And this is where I'll kill a myth you've almost certainly heard. That the word salary comes from salt, because Roman soldiers were paid in salt. They weren't. Do the arithmetic, and a salt salary is absurd. You'd be lugging sacks of it. The paid in salt story traces to dictionaries barely 2 centuries old, not to Rome. But keep this part. Salt really was strategic. Rome controlled the salt works and built a road called the Via Salaria, the salt road, to move it. Because without salt, you can't preserve food, and without preserved food, you can't feed a moving army. The myth is false. The importance under it is real, which is the whole point, and it's far bigger than dinner. Step back, and the food stops being a list of ingredients and becomes the thing that decided wars. An army is a mouth. A single legion, some 5,000 men, eats on the order of 5 tons of grain a day. Every day, fighting or not. Move that army, and you have to move the food with it, or find it on the way. This is what truly kept a Roman commander awake. Read Caesar's own account of Gaul, and you'll notice he frets about grain, the res frumentaria, far more often than about the enemy. He times whole campaigns to the harvest. He wins and loses by supply. Behind the legions stood a machine you never see in the films. The granaries, the horea, the supply convoys, the foraging parties, a web of roads and ships dragging wheat, oil, and wine across a continent to put 1 kilogram of grain in one man's hands, every day, 1,000 miles from Rome. And it's the same machine we've been looking at all along. The fortress raised every night, the 8 men grinding wheat by the fire, the grain road and the granary. Different gears, one machine. The system that turned men into an empire. So next time you picture a legionary, don't picture the sword. Picture the sack of wheat, the hand mill, the cup of sour wine. Rome didn't conquer the world on muscle, it conquered on logistics. This is the Roman machine. Next time, the Roman road. Not just how they built something that has lasted 2,000 years, but why a road was a weapon as deadly as any legion.